In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the 2017 Giant Trance 1. This will be a kind of a unique review because I'm doing this from a parking lot of a hotel, and I've rented this bike for a few days in Colorado Springs, and I rode it here in Colorado. And so what I want to do is kind of just review the bike, do a little comparison between this one and a carbon one, because I've owned the 2017 carbon Trance, I've owned the 2018 aluminum and the 2018 carbon for tests and reviews on my YouTube channel, and so I'll do a little bit of a comparison. This is a bike, you know, it's a year old, but Giant still has it on its website. You can still pick it up from your Giant dealer, I think. Probably some closeouts. Maybe you're looking at this bike to buy used and you want to know kind of what the bike's like. So again, very informal review, just going over some of the features of the bike, what I think about it, how it rides. So obviously the components are listed on Giant's website, but just to go over them real quick, it's got pretty much Shimano SLX drivetrain and brakes, and it's got Fox suspension. And this is a bike that probably, just like I said about the 2018 aluminum Trance, this bike has so much value packed into it. This bike is the sweet spot for value, and what I mean by that is as you go up in price, the returns that you get on ride quality don't really match the dollar value. This is kind of the pinnacle of getting the best bang for your buck. Let's start with the brakes. It's got Shimano Deore brakes. It's not SLX, I thought it was SLX. It's Deore, so a step below SLX. The performance of these brakes were good. What I missed about it was the adjustment feature. So on the XT, and I think even the SLX has a knob right here so you can adjust the lever reach. I think maybe you can do these with an Allen wrench. Don't quote me on that, I'm not sure. Yeah, there is an Allen wrench under here. But the external adjustment is the only thing that I missed. Performance was fine. This bike comes with 180 rotors, both front and rear, and a really good modulation and power. I did not notice too much of a performance decrease with the XT brakes that I'm so used to riding. The SLX drivetrain on this bike was spot on in terms of shift performance. We did a lot of climbing each day. I did not have any missed shifts. I had no drop chains. So this has got a 32 in the front and I think 1146 in the back. It is a 1x11 drivetrain, which I think is going to suit most riders. Obviously, you know, there's the SRAM Eagle with the 50 in the back, but I actually, you know, what we climbed here was not quite as steep as what I climb on the East Coast mountains, but they were long and steady. I never ran out of gear going up, or there was one time on the road where I kind of spun out, but you know, it was a trail ride. I wasn't in a race, so I just coasted if I ran out of gear. But really good performance out of the SLX drivetrain. If you're familiar with my channel, you'll know that I love Fox suspension, and this suspension felt great. I love this new Evolution fork, the Rhythm fork that Fox puts out. So this is the Rhythm 34, so 34 millimeter stanchions, a little bit thicker, a little bit more stiffness. I adjusted this knob quite a bit. It's got an adjustment to fully open to fully locked out, and it is fully locked out. Same with the rear. So when you put it all the way over here, that is fully locked out. I pretty much left it there for climbing, which was nice because some of the stuff we were climbing was a little rocky, a little rooty, and it's really great to have your suspension soak up that stuff and keep your tire on the ground. Suspension, again, just like the drivetrain, great value, great performance out of this suspension. I've said it before in some of my other videos, I never really missed the Kashima coating as far as performance. Now I'm looking here and there's some nicks in this coating, so I'm wondering if Kashima is maybe a little bit more durable. I would think so, but as far as the smoothness of the fork, it felt just like my other forks with Kashima coating. The cockpit on this bike is okay. After riding the wider bars that Giant is putting on the 2018 Trances, this bar felt a little narrow. I think it's maybe a 750, 760 around there. I have a 780 on my 2018 Trance, and the stem was a little bit longer than what's on my 2018. I really missed that, actually. So that's probably an upgrade that you could do. It's not a very expensive upgrade, just to get a wider bar, shorter stem. If you were looking at this bike, it's not mandatory. It's just something if you get into hardcore trail riding, you may want to do. The saddle on this bike is pretty comfortable. No complaints with comfort. The dropper seat post is probably the weak link of this bike. I had an issue with my dropper seat post on my 2017, which I think is the same dropper post, and I had a problem with it kind of sinking down. After I raised it up, I would sit on it and it would kind of sink down. It's kind of like the air chamber would pressurize and settle in and be okay. The 2018 seat posts are a lot better than the 2017, so that's probably the weak link. Again, it's not an upgrade that's super expensive. It's something that you could look into down the road, maybe even see if your shop could swap it out for the 2018 seat post, but it'll work, and it'll work fine for a while. I had to warranty my 2017 seat post. It was not a big deal. Took a week or so. So it's just something to keep an eye on if you end up picking up one of these bikes. Another upgrade that Giant's done for 2018 is put all wheels on their mid to high end bikes as tubeless. This does not come tubeless. It's something that you can do. That's not an expensive or time consuming upgrade. It's really just a matter of taping up the rims and putting your sealant in, which I would definitely do. Riding this bike in Colorado with tubes, by the way, made me really appreciate tubeless for two reasons. One is the ride quality, two is the flat protection. So I noticed right away, one, I had to run a little bit higher pressures than I normally run to keep from pinch flatting, and the tire was just kind of wandering around, it was bouncing off of stuff instead of absorbing it. And that's the benefit of going tubeless, is the tires conform better to the bumps. And it's been years literally since I rode a mountain bike with tubes, and it's something I would highly recommend doing if you pick up this bike. Convert it to tubeless. I did get a pinch flat on one of the descents, which, you know, probably would not have happened had I been running tubes or tubeless. So with the tubes, you know, you still run that risk of getting pinch flats. Again, something that I would do is just convert this bike to tubeless if you pick one up. Let's talk about ride quality. The bike weighs, I'm gonna say, around 31 pounds, 32 pounds, the way it's set up. That's the difference between going with a really high-end carbon bike and aluminum, is the weight, which you notice on the climbs, but it's not that big of a deal. On the descents, I really didn't notice a huge difference in the difference of a ride quality of a carbon versus aluminum. There is a difference, and the longer you ride, the more aggressive you ride, the more you're going to notice that difference. Someone who's, you know, on a budget, you're an intermediate rider, you're not going to notice too much of a difference with the performance of this bike versus like a $5,000 carbon. The biggest difference you'll notice is climbing. Everybody's going to notice a little bit of a weight penalty, no matter how long you've been riding. But you know, your fitness is what really dictates how you climb. So the point is, if this is the bike that fits your budget, don't worry about the weight. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to get up to the top of the climbs, and you're going to have a blast on the descents. I do want to mention that this bike is a through axle front and rear. I think it's boost spacing front and rear. So 110 in the front, 148 in the back. Don't quote me on that. I haven't looked at Giant's websites to confirm that, but this is a quick release. So my carbon one is not a quick release. You have to use a 6mm Allen wrench on the front. The back of this one is not a quick release. It is, you have to use an Allen wrench. But I actually appreciated that because I had to throw this bike into the back of an SUV. I didn't have a rack. And taking the front wheel off was a lot easier with a quick release. That's actually something that's kind of nice about this bike, is that you don't have to have an Allen wrench to take the front wheel off. So there's my quick and dirty review from the parking lot of the Hilton Garden Inn in Colorado Springs. Hopefully the video helped you out if you're thinking about one of these bikes. Again, buying it from a closeout from a bike shop or used from someone. I want to reiterate, this bike is the pinnacle of value. This $2,700 price range, you're going to absolutely get the most bang for your buck. And listen, I've been riding mountain bikes for over 20 years. And I had a blast on this bike. I never felt like this was a much lower tier bike that I just couldn't wait to get off. One, I love riding in Colorado. Two, I still had a blast on this bike. Would I have preferred my carbon? Yeah. But is that preference like dramatic? No. So again, great value, great bike, hits that pinnacle of value. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below.